Morning, Coach. Good, how are you?
Like to introduce at this time from the Associated Press, Barry Bedlin.
I'm Barry Bedlin, Sports Products Director for the Associated Press. It is my honor to present the AP Men's College Basketball Coach of the Year Award to not one but two of the game's top coaches. Before we begin, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention how special today would have been to Jim O'Connell, AP's Hall of Fame basketball writer, who passed away months after the last Final Four was played here in San Antonio 7 years ago. Ock was the utmost professional, not allowing bias to appear in his coverage, but he made it no secret off the clock that he bled St. John's red. Knowing that the coach of his team is receiving some AP hardware today would have made it hard for Ock to not smile big if he were here. The AP Coach of the Year Award is selected by the same panel of journalists that decides the AP Weekly Top 25. Voting is conducted at the end of the season before the start of the NCAA Tournament. The award has been around for 58 years, and this is the first time voting has finished in a tie. So today we get to recognize two deserving coaches for their exceptional seasons. Their names will now join a list that includes the likes of John Wooden, Roy Williams, Eddie Sutton, Tom Izzo, and last year's recipient, Kelvin Sampson. Both of this year's award winners were named their respective conferences Coach of the Year. Both have established winning programs after years of those programs struggling prior to their arrivals. One led his team to his third regular season championship in the dominant Southeastern Conference. He also led his Tigers to both a school record and a career high 32 wins this season. Auburn also earned the #1 overall seed in this year's NCAA tournament. The other coach, who was in the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame, proved he still has the touch. In only his second season at St. John's, he led his program to its first outright Big East regular season title in 40 years and first Big East tournament championship in 25. His team's 4 regular season losses were only by a combined 7 points. Interestingly, both of this year's recipients started their college basketball journeys in Massachusetts. One is a point guard for UMass Amherst, the other is the student manager for Boston College. They also have played each other twice, with the one who coached at Louisville winning both, including in the 2008 Sweet 16. It is my honor to present this year's AP Men's College Basketball Coach of the Year trophy to both Rick Pitino and Bruce Pearl. And so what we're going to do here is the obligatory grip and grin for the photographers. With each one, Coach Pitino, will start with you, and then we'll get a shot of both of you standing with the trophies. So.
Photos are welcome, and I do believe that you can roll video in this news conference as well, so feel free to
All right.
use your cell phone.
I think that's enough time.
There you go, Coach. Thank you. You bet.
All right, and then what we'd like to do is have both of you, because I know Coach Pearl's going to have to head out early. We'll have both of you pose for a shot with the trophies. Great. So what we'll do now is we'll have each coach, I'll give each coach the opportunity to make a few comments. Coach Pitino, we'll start with you.
Well, thank you for this prestigious award, and I'm very, very excited that I get to share it with Bruce. I've admired him since he's been a young coach, admired him as a middle-aged coach, and now I admire him as an older coach. I'm a lot younger than him, and so Bruce has been one of my favorites in coaching for a long, long time. He wins every place he's been, but he wins with his players having fun, with a great style of play. He's just terrific. And I just admire him so much since he's been young to now where he's coaching. And good luck in the Final Four. What a incredible season. So I'm just deeply honored. Thank the AP, and sharing it with someone like Bruce is just a special treat.
Well, thank you, Coach. I've said this many times. The best coach I've ever gone up against was Rick Pitino. I remember being a manager at Boston College, and this young Italian kid would be sneaking into practice or coming watching Dr. Tom Davis's games, even when they weren't on the schedule, because he was a sponge. I didn't know then that that young coach would become one of the greatest coaches in the history of the game at any level. And I tried to emulate so many things about the way Coach Pitino coached, the way he loved his players, the way he built a staff, the way he won everywhere he had been, always giving his opponents, credit, respecting, honoring, the game. And while this is an incredible award, and I accept it on behalf of a great coaching staff, because Coach, we wouldn't be here without the men and the women that we have surrounding us. To have earned Coach Pitino's respect would be one of my greatest achievements as a basketball coach. I mean that with all sincerity.
So what we'll do now is open it up for questions, but Coach Pearl is going to have to run off to practice here in just a few minutes, so we'd ask any questions directed specifically to him. Go to him first.
If you have a question for Coach Pearl, please raise your hand. Let's get one down in the front or use that front left microphone.
Bruce, Robbie LaStella, Bracketeer.org. Obviously, you guys are in the midst of a big game tomorrow, but reflecting on this moment for you personally, from where you've been to now, what's this kind of feel like being recognized for your success?
Well, it is. It's an honor, and especially when you look at the people that you share that honor with. It is historic. We do want to try to make history. We want to try to make good history, and so that's why it's so important. But it is a reflection of the incredible hard work and efforts of my staff. You want to judge me? Judge me by the men and the women I surround myself with. Judge me by my staff, and this is ours, without question. So we're humble, we're grateful, and we got 2 more games to win.
Coach Pearl is going to head out to practice after this John Fanta question. Back room, backside on the left.
Bruce, John Fanta, Fox Sports. Both of you this season have given locker room access to cameras. And the energy within those rooms has produced some moments that a lot of people can appreciate. How do you balance the motivation, the pressing, the trying to get the very most that you've gotten out of this team with that love that you give to your group as well?
Well, I'd like to think that I was all access before all access, right? We're coaches, we're teachers, we're ministers, we're pouring into our kids, and so to allow people to come in and listen to our messaging, Coach Pitino gave his young men about tough love, about accountability, about growing up. These are real life lessons. Yes, they're going to have a lot to do with the next 20 minutes about whether or not he was able to win that basketball game, but it's going to carry on to that and those life lessons. So, we don't mind letting people in. We don't ask that you agree with everything that we have to say or the way we even say it. But, Coach Pat Dye has said this: you can coach him as hard as you love him. Why is it that somehow your father or an uncle or a grandfather could say something to you that nobody else could say to you? And the reason why that's the case is because you know how much he loves you and cares about you. And so we can talk to our players. We can tell our players what we think. It doesn't make us always right, but it's going to be authentic, it's going to be real, and that's how you develop that trust. Coach Pitino's players trust him. They know he cares about them, and they trust his experience, and so that's why I'm grateful to be able to listen and learn. Last thing I want to say is when I was a young Division II assistant coach, Bobby Knight's radio show was on before my radio show, and I drive from practice to try to get to my radio show, and I listen to him. Bobby Knight did not exactly respect the media like he should have, but he respected his fans. I listened to his radio show, and I learned about how to be a better teacher and how to be a better coach. And so that's why we open up our locker room. So
we want to congratulate Coach Pearl
Thank you.
and thank him for joining us here in the main interview room.
Okay.
Coach Pearl and Auburn are headed to open practice out on the deck. We'll take questions for Coach Pitino. We have one in the back on the right side of the room. Dan.
Rick, hey, Dan Wolken, USA Today. If you don't mind entertaining a question about the landscape of college sports and everything that's going on right now. Obviously, this revenue share cap coming in. What do you think is going to make this thing fail or work? Is it going to be the commitment of people to hold to it, or do you see, some outside forces here that, that are going to screw with this thing that they want to put in?
I'm not often critical because I adapt to everything. I said, if these are the rules, let's try and get the most out of the rules that we play by. The only thing I'm very concerned about for young athletes today is some of the athletes and what they're being paid, this will be the most they'll ever make in their life. And that's not something I believe in. I believe you go out, you prove yourself, you make a little bit more, whether you graduate from Notre Dame and you go to Wall Street and you're working for $18,000 and you make a little bit more, then you're running the company 15 years later. And it bothers me a little bit that the money has gotten such that a young athlete's going to be making the most he'll ever make in his life as a young person. So that's the only thing I look at. Everything else, I'll see where the chips fall, where they may, and then try to figure it out.
Next question, up front on the left. Hoops is in the house.
Hey, Coach, how are you? Coach, when you were younger, you were one of the best recruiters that I had seen in the country. Everything's changed now. What do you suggest to high school seniors now who know they might not be recruited either at their level or recruited at all?
Yeah, but a year ago, we recruited 3 freshmen, and this year we're not recruiting any. Just because we're losing 3 great players. I'm smart enough to know coaches never win awards. Players win the awards for coaches along with their staff. So I know why I'm up here today. It's because of the hard work that my guys put in. But I will say it's a lot easier teaching older players than it is younger players. But the shame of it all, and I don't understand this, I coached in the EuroLeague for 2 years. They wanted no part of college guys, even if they spend 4 years. They only want like 26, 27, or guys in the G League that have been there for 3 or 4 years, or NBA guys when they retired. They did not want young players, where the NBA wants all young guys. If you look at the draft this year, freshman, sophomore, freshman, foreign. And it's coaches. When I coached in the NBA, we wanted no part of young players. We wanted guys that were older. So the general managers want younger players because they have a built-in excuse if they don't perform. Oh, they're too young. They'll come on. It saves their job for another year or 2.
We'll go to Zach, then Adam, then Chris.
How do you know all these guys' names?
Been doing this a while, Coach. And I'm from New York.
Zach Brazil, New York Post. What's up, Ray? Congrats.
Thanks, Zach.
You've never won this award before. So it's a 2-part question. What does it mean to you to win this award? And number 2, does winning an award, does that motivate you in terms of to continue to do what you're doing?
Well, it's funny because I said to my wife, this is the second time I've won this award. And she said, no, you won the Wooden Award right away. I said, oh. I said, never won it? She said, no. I said, that's awesome.
First St. John's coach.
I didn't know that I beat Bruce Pearl twice until he told me. I said, when was that? And Kenny Klein, who drinks a lot, he did not remember it either. And if he didn't remember it, how was I going to remember? Now, it is a special treat because all these awards, I have my assistant here, Ricky Johns, and my other assistant, Stephen Boateng, and my AD is here. We share this. We know why we win these type of awards. It's dedicated players having a great season and dedicated staffs and everybody coming together, and I certainly share with that. But I'm excited to win this and very excited to share it with Bruce because he's having So we were talking earlier on the plane who I thought would win. This is the first time in my 50 years I don't have an opinion who can win this game. I really don't. Now, if Houston wins this game, it's going to be very tough for the opponent that they play with 1 day prep to play against a Houston. But Duke has had a week to prepare for Houston, so it's a lot easier. And then in the other game, I believe Florida beat Auburn at Auburn, and it's a revenge game. And I could make a 20-minute dissertation case for every team. So I don't know why they're making Duke the favorite. They're great. Coach Shai has done a magnificent job with that team, but I could not pick the winner of any of these games. It's amazing.
Before we get to Adam, is there a Kenny Klein rebuttal? We can send a microphone. Kenny. Adam.
Rick, Adam Zagoria, congratulations.
Thank you.
You obviously got some nice portal additions with Bryce and Josan. Can you just talk briefly about how you feel that's improved your roster overall, and also does being here at the Final Four motivate you even more to try to get back here next year or in the future?
Well, I did my best this year. I don't know if I could try any harder. Look, I've said this all along. I've lost in the first round to Morehead State and been blessed enough to go to 7 Final Fours. It's all matchups sometimes. We got a bad matchup with Arkansas with their athleticism, but we don't make any excuses. Arkansas deserved all the credit, but we had 2 guys with torn ligaments in their thumbs that played. We improved our defense. We wanted to improve our defense and get better quickness, better athletes. We did that. Now we got to take it to the next step. We got to keep on recruiting great athletes that shoot it better. We've got to improve our shooting from the outside. It was not good either from the foul line or the perimeter, and we're going to improve that certainly. That's what we're looking at right now.
Next on the right side, Chris.
Hey, Rick. Chris Harry from FloridaGators.com. Can you recount the video you saw, your assistant showed you, of Walt during his tryout? I guess it was in Orlando or something like. At least that's how it was relayed to me. And and also when he played for you, did he have the freedom to play the way he did, take some of the shots he did when he played for you?
Well, Walt, as you know, was a football player and had major scholarships to high-level schools. I believe Florida State, Notre Dame, and one other SEC school. And we looked at the film. What I like, he won a high school championship. May have been back-to-back high school championships, yes. And I wanted a winner at Iona, and he was a winner. Even though he's a football player, I liked the way he passed the ball. I liked what he was doing. And when he first came in, he struggled a little bit like all freshmen do, and then he became the MVP of the league his sophomore year, was a killer basketball player, as he is now for Florida. And I had one of the best backcourts. We actually were one of the few teams that was close to Connecticut at halftime. I believe, it's going to sound crazy, that Iona was a Sweet 16 team because we had one of the best backcourts and we had Nelly Joseph Jr. at center. Unfortunately, our matchup was the champions. But I had a great team for Iona, and it could have gone far, I thought, that year. And Walter Clayton, it did not surprise me that he's having the success he's having now. And I think Walt's going to be a great pro. He plays hurt. He plays all the time. He's a tough kid. He makes shots. He's a great passer. He lets the game come to him. He has quick hands. He jumps much better than people. His vertical's much better than people would ever see. And it was a treat coaching Walt. Great guy.
Back of the room on the right, Eric.
Eric Prisbell, Hoops HQ. Rick, you've seen a lot of great freshmen over the years. How would you assess where Cooper Flagg ranks among the great freshmen, specifically among those during the one-and-done era?
Yeah, he's really special, and he really shouldn't be a freshman in college. He should be a high school senior, which is even more impressive. He's as good as I've seen in quite some time. There's been a lot of great ones. I'd certainly put him up at with some of the best. And he's going to have a great pro career. What Duke is doing is kind of amazing to me. It's very difficult to win with freshmen, very difficult. But they're doing it. They're very well coached. They're very well drilled. And now they're going to see a defensive team that's really, really difficult to go against. So I'm really looking forward to it because they're terrific on offense. They play good defense, and they're going against one of the best defensive teams that you'll ever see. So it's going to be an exciting matchup, but Cooper Flagg is tremendous. Going to have a great pro career as well.
Coach, Louisville media in the building here. CL.
Okay.
How you doing, Rick? CL
Good seeing you again.
Good to see you. Certainly, you've made a living adapting to the different changes throughout college basketball. But with how the landscape is right now, what has been kind of the biggest challenge that you feel like you've had to confront when so many of your other peers have decided that they were good, they didn't want to continue to kind of make those changes?
Well, probably nothing has surprised me until just this year when you can't believe the numbers. Now, I do know some of the numbers are true, and it blows me away with those numbers. And I don't know how some of the coaches are using their mathematics skill to put together 13 players with those numbers. But I'm happy for the players, certainly. Appreciate it. But I'm waiting to see what's going to happen in the next week to see where this goes. And then we'll adapt once again. But the toughest thing is the new rosters that you have to put together every year. And my biggest pet peeve with the NCAA, I don't know what they're doing with some of the thinking. We had to have somebody who came out publicly and say he was starving at night to get them to change the rules about a refueling station. And I think it was Napier from Connecticut that came, was it him? I think it was him that came out with that. And then all the food rules changed. And the fact that we're only getting 4 hours a week with all these new teams in the summertime when coaching professional athletes is the most backward thing I've ever heard of in my life. They are professional athletes. Let them train like Kobe did, like Michael did, like LeBron does, and let them train in the summertime to hone their skills so they can become great players. Don't tell us there's nothing going on that they only get 4 hours a week. Please come into the 2025 NCAA and don't give us 4 hours a week.
Backside of the room on the left, Rick.
Yeah, Rick, John Clay, Herald Leader in Lexington. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I know you obviously were very busy with your team, but I was just wondering, did you get much chance to follow one of your proteges there, Mark Pope at Kentucky, and what kind of year did you think he had in his first year?
I always follow the guys I coach, and I followed them religiously this year, rooting for them all the time. Mark did a fabulous job this year, playing a very difficult schedule. I love the way his guys play. I love the offenses he runs. I love the way they move the ball. They share the basketball. I knew he'd be a great coach. There was no doubt in my mind. But I didn't know it from BYU. I went to see him at the Utah Valley program and watched him build that. And that's where I knew Mark. You never know when your players are going to be great coaches or not. But I went to see Mark, and at that point I knew he'd be a great coach. Kentucky hired the right man. Mark will be brilliant for so many years. Such a humble person, such a caring person, and such a great offensive mind. So, yes, I followed him all the time religiously.
Want to congratulate and thank Coach Pitino, Associated Press, National Coach of the Year. Lapchick, Carnesecca, first St. John's coach to win the AP Coach of the Year.
Wow, thank you.
We'll be joined by Kelvin Sampson in just a moment. This reminder that the Houston locker room is open and the student-athlete breakout rooms are open as well.